welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about how my baby was almost hospitalized. Okay, so before I get started, I want to address a couple things. First, you may notice that Grayson was just with me, and now he is not. And that's because it was his nap time and he's getting a little bit fussy. So I was gonna see if I could hold him throughout the duration of the video, but he was just not having it. So Kevin came in and got him and is gonna get him down for his nap. But I also wanted to address the fact that the title is a complete reflection of our experience, and Grayson was almost hospitalized. This is not clickbait. This is a very true story, and it is my hope that by sharing this with you guys, I can prevent this from happening to you in the future. Okay, so I'll start at the beginning. Grayson was born 37 weeks and 2 days. So he was full term, but he was still early. He was a lower birth weight. He was 5 pounds, 12.5 ounces at birth, and I breastfed him. We then had to start supplementing him with formula at 2 days old, and so he had been breastfed from birth, and then at 2 days old he was breastfed and formula fed, but it was a majority breastfed. And so that is how he started out his first month. And after he turned about a month old, supplementing formula turned into full-time formula feeding. And you can actually watch that video here to learn why I stopped breastfeeding my newborn. In regards to the bottle that we purchased, we actually received the Comotomo bottle from our baby registry at our baby shower. And it was a great bottle. We had heard so many good reviews. We heard that it's a good bottle if you are breastfeeding because it's a very similar nipple to an actual breast. And so we were like, okay, that sounds like the best route for us. So we got the stage 1 Comotomo bottle at first. And in that first month, we were super pleased with how it worked. We thought it worked so well, and we noticed Grayson never spit up. He was doing so well. We even saw other babies struggling with the same bottle and thought, wow, he is like not picky whatsoever. He will just take whatever is given to him and just happily, drink it. And so we thought, oh wow, this is awesome. He's not having any issues with these bottles. The formula we used was the pre-made Enfamil Gentlease formula, and it's actually stored in the refrigerator, and that's how we gave it to Grayson. And our pediatrician did say that if he liked it cold, that was more than okay. It's not a problem. It's not a health concern to give a baby cold formula. But some people, some babies prefer it warm, some babies prefer it cold, some babies prefer it room temperature. It just depends on your baby. But Grayson seemed to like it cold, and so we were happy about that because it did make the formula feeding process a little bit easier even. During Grayson's first month of life, we had to do a couple weight checks at the pediatrician because he was born a little bit early and they wanted him to be gaining more than he was, and he wasn't getting enough from me when I was breastfeeding. And so we thought, okay, we need to feed him more frequently with the formula, and we need to feed him more at a time. So there were times where he would be eating 4 ounces at a time, and the poor little baby would be stuffed to the rim. He was so full. But we thought, he's just trying to catch up in its growth, so he can be stuffed to the rim and it's just fine. However, stuffing him full did lead to him gaining weight, so that process, that routine we had worked out at the time. When he was about a month and a half old, we stopped the weight check appointments because he was at 7 pounds 6 ounces. He finally broke that 7-pound mark. At that appointment, he was supposed to gain 10 ounces and he had gained 13. So they were very pleased with how he was growing, and they thought this was a good trend and it was only going to go up from there. And because that appointment went well and he was gaining as he should be, he was finally catching up at least. They said, you know what? Okay, we'll stop the weight checks for now and we will see you back in 2 weeks for his 2-month checkup. Before I talk about his 2-month checkup, I'm going to go back a little bit and talk about the start of his bottle issue. Now, if you watched Vlogmas, you probably heard me talk over and over again about Grayson struggling with bottles, and we just had so many baby bottle struggles. With the nature of Vlogmas and doing a lot of daily vlogs, it just so happened to be that we had bottle struggles in several of those vlogs because it was what we were experiencing at the time. And so I wanted to share that with you guys to maybe get some advice from you, and also, talk about our experiences and our struggles and be open about that, because that is something I want on my channel, is to be open with you guys about things that we struggle with as far as raising Grayson. And because this channel is a lot about motherhood, I wanted to make sure that people know they're not alone if they are struggling. So going back to the bottle, we tried a few different bottles for him. We had the Komotomo, the Philips Avent, and the Even Flow bottles. And so they're all kind of very different as far as their nipples go. And so we thought, okay, if he doesn't have success with one, he'll definitely have success with another one. And the thing about those bottles is they would work for about a day or two, and we thought we found a solution, and then he would end up hating them after a couple days. So as I mentioned, we started with the stage 1 Komotomo bottle, and the Komotomo bottle worked so well for us at first. But then he started to get really fussy when he was drinking out of it, and it seemed like maybe he wasn't getting as much as he wanted. And so we thought, okay, he wants to move to a different bottle, one that has a little bit of a faster nipple flow. With this in mind, we actually had a Philips Avent in our cabinet that we had gotten from one of those little boxes. I think it was from Baby List, and it was one of those little sample boxes of all the different baby products. So we had that bottle on hand and decided to give it a shot. It was also a stage 1, so it was the very first stage of Philips Avent. And like with the other bottles, he would take that bottle, and the first day was amazing. It seemed to fix every problem we were having. He loved it. He didn't seem to fuss when he was eating. He didn't spit up. It was awesome. In fact, Kevin thought this is the answer. So he ran to the store and picked up a whole pack of those same bottles. So that way we could have more on hand, because we thought these are the bottles that he wants now. He's over the Komotomo bottle. We did not know that was not the answer. We were so very wrong that that was the bottle for him. 2 days after we started giving him that bottle, things started to go very south. I was in the middle of changing his diaper. It was a poopy diaper. And so, you kind of, with a little boy, you really have to be careful because, things spray when you're changing their diaper. And so I was trying to change his poopy diaper, and then he spit up a little bit. And so I was like, oh no. And I went to take care of it, and he started to aspirate on his spit up, and it got so bad that it came out of his nose. And that shook me up so badly. I was crying. The thing about that is that happened the night before Vlogmas started. So I started out Vlogmas on a very not so happy note because I was so stressed out about the bottle issues he was having, and he had almost choked on his spit up the night before. So we were very overwhelmed and tired and stressed. And so it was a very real way to start out Vlogmas. Prior to that, I had noticed that the milk had started pouring out his mouth, like it would be covering his chin when I was giving him a bottle. And so I thought, that's not normal. That's not good. The other bottle was kind of like the exact opposite. It was like he wasn't getting enough. And then so with this one, I thought maybe he's getting too much. So I Googled it, and I was looking through what people were saying about this. And if your baby is gurgling, gagging, coughing, formula pouring down their chin, or breast milk pouring down their chin with their bottle, there is a chance that they're getting way too much at a time, and that can actually cause them to spit up more. And so I was like, this is the answer. This bottle is not the answer, but it is a bottle issue that we are having. So after researching that, I found that he was getting way too much at a time, and it was causing him to have it pour out his mouth, the sides of his mouth. It would just pour out the sides, and then it would cause him to spit up because it would be too much at a time, and it would gag him and then come right back up. Another thing we tried was poking a hole in the Komotomo bottle nipple, because that was actually something my mother-in-law suggested. She did this when my husband was a baby. What it does is it opens up that hole a little bit, and so they're able to get some more out at a time. And we thought, okay, well, if this is the answer, then all we have to do is do this to all of his Komotomo bottles and problem solved, right? No. As with the other bottles, it worked really well at first, and then it stopped working and started upsetting him all over again. Now, the Komotomo originally worked super well for him until it didn't. And then when it didn't work for him, it was making him mad because he wasn't getting enough at a time, and he was swallowing so much air, it would always get hiccups. He was really gassy, and his tummy would hurt. And when we were burping him, he would scream. He would scream blood-curdling screams, like he was in so much pain. During feedings, he would scream. It was awful. It broke my heart. Both Kevin and I just felt so helpless because we did not know what we could do, and we didn't know what bottle would be the magic answer for us. We had no idea, and we were so upset because first-time parents, you just don't know what to do in these situations, and everything is new, and you just don't want your baby to be hurting or having any issues, and so this was really hard for us. After we tried another bottle with no success, we really started to think, what if he has a tongue tie? Is this the answer? Is it a tongue tie? Is the tongue tie why he has been having issues this whole time? Because that would make sense, right? In fact, I wanted so badly to believe it was a tongue tie because I thought, if that's the answer, it will really, really suck, but we can just get it fixed and then we will be good. Everything will be good. He'll take his bottles with no issues. He won't spit up as much. Everything will be better. And you can ask Kevin. I swore up and down that he had a tongue tie. I was looking at pictures constantly, like, look, that's what his tongue looks like. I posted on a forum, I posted on a mom's Facebook group I'm in. I swore it was a tongue tie and that once we got that repaired, everything would be fixed. And a big part of that is because feedings had gotten so bad and I want to enjoy feeding him. I want him to enjoy that time. I want it to be a fun, sweet moment for us. I don't want that to involve him screaming nonstop because he's in pain. I was praying so hard about this because I knew Grayson was born a little bit early, and so that means that his weight was a little bit lower than average. I just knew that him having troubles with bottles would probably lead to worse. And so I was so afraid for him and for his health and for the future because I just didn't understand what was going on or how we could fix it. I mean, he literally would scream during almost every feeding. And then when we would try to burp him, he would scream even worse. And you could just tell this poor baby was in so much pain and I had no idea what to do. What was also really concerning is the fact that he would spit up multiple times at this point during feedings. Like, he could not go a feeding without spitting up at least twice, and that was very scary too. And again, I think I would have put money on the fact that it was a tongue tie. I was so certain it was. I thought as soon as we go to his 2-month checkup, she's gonna be like, oh yep, it's a tongue tie, okay, I'm gonna repair it and then life will be good, you know? I really hope that would be the case, but it was not. So that brings me to his 2-month checkup, which is where we found out just how bad things really were. We went into that appointment planning on talking to the doctor about his issues with spitting up, with bottle nipples, screaming during feedings, everything that he had been struggling with, and bringing up the fact that we thought he might have a tongue tie. I asked about the tongue tie and she said it's nothing clinical, so it doesn't need to be repaired, which is good because I didn't want him to have an outpatient procedure. However, it was also discouraging because I thought if that's not the answer, then what is? As they do with all of his appointments, we got there, we waited in the room and undressed him and got him ready to be weighed, and we took him over to the scale so they could weigh him. Keeping in mind that his previous weight 2 weeks before that was 7 pounds 6 ounces. So we thought, oh, he's gonna be over 8 pounds, you know, he's growing so well. And even though he was having issues with his bottles, we just didn't think that there was any way he could have lost weight or not gained weight with what he was eating. I've never felt more sick to my stomach than I did when I saw them put him on the scale and it said 7, 5.5. I looked at Kevin and he looked at me and we just were so devastated because we thought, oh my gosh, he has lost weight. At 2 months old, he has lost weight. And at this point, we were like, we don't know what to do. We have no idea what bottle will work for him. We have no idea if the formula is upsetting his tummy. We have no idea, and we are just at a loss. We walked back into that room and we looked at each other and we just sat there like, what do we do? I don't know where to go from here. I'm afraid. I don't want them to think that we're deliberately starving him because it was just such a struggle trying to get him to eat every feeding. He hated it. He fought it. He spit up. It would pour out of his mouth, or he wasn't getting enough. We just had no idea what the answer was. And like I said, we knew that this was bad, but we just didn't know how bad it really was. As soon as his doctor walked into the room and she looked at his chart, she went into full-blown panic mode. And I have never seen his doctor look so afraid and so worried. It made me feel so uneasy. To put it simply, he was starving. And what he was getting when he was taking his bottles was being spit up. And then everything else was being spit out of his mouth. It wasn't going in. And so we knew that this was happening, but we thought he's still getting some. We thought he was still eating. And so we realized at that appointment that he was not. He was not getting nearly what he should have been. And the fact that he had lost weight at 2 months old was the biggest red flag for his doctor and for us. The doctor looked very worried as she was talking to us about his feeding routine and asking how many times a day he eats and asking how much he eats at a time. And she's like, this just doesn't add up. This is so worrying. I don't know what to do from here. I explained to her that we were having so many issues with bottles and that we were so worried because he was spitting up more and he was fussy during every feeding, and every feeding was like a fight. And so I thought maybe that would lend an explanation to everything that had been going on. It was during this appointment that she said she wanted to send Grayson to a GI specialist at Children's Hospital because she wanted him to get a lot of testing done and get some abdominal ultrasounds done. We thought that going to Children's Hospital for testing was our only option until she brought out this pre-made bottle of formula. It was the disposable bottles and it was Similac Pro Advance. And she said, I'm going to try giving him this to see how he drinks out of the bottle. And to our surprise, this little boy sucked that bottle down. He had no issues. It did not pour out of his mouth. He did not spit up once. He burped the way he was supposed to burp. That bottle was gone within 5 minutes. It was 2 ounces gone within 5 minutes. The fact that he took that bottle so well from her showed her that he really is struggling with the bottles that we have. And so she said to try the disposable bottle nipples instead of the bottle nipples we had been trying to use. At that appointment, she also said that she believed he might have a little bit of GERD because he was showing some signs of that. It wasn't extreme. He does not projectile vomit or anything, but he does have quite a few issues with hiccups and burping and, being a little bit fussy when it's time to burp him. Because Kevin had reflux as a baby, we were not surprised about this, and we actually kind of expected to be told that. Before she saw him take the bottle so well, she was wanting to send him to Children's for testing to get that abdominal ultrasound. However, after she saw him take that bottle, she wanted to give him a chance. This is when we started a strict feeding schedule with him, feeding every 2 hours, and we would give him the powdered formula with the distilled water. And so we would actually do 3.5 ounces of water to 2 scoops of formula, whereas it calls for 4 ounces of water and 2 scoops of formula. So she wanted us to have it be a little bit more concentrated so he could gain more. And so that's what we did. We did feedings every 2 hours, and then during the middle of the night he would eat after 4.5 hours and then 3 hours, because that was the amount of time she said he should go without eating at night. She then said, come back in 5 days and we will do another weight check to see where he is at. Well, a day later, I received a call from her office, and it was her nurse practitioner calling because she said that the doctor had been thinking about it all night and was so worried and wanted to send Grayson for testing regardless. But it was during this phone call that they asked how he did his first night with the new feeding routine, and I told them he was doing so well. He had no issues whatsoever, and he would go down so well with each feeding. No fussing or anything. He wouldn't cry. He wasn't spitting up. He was responding better than we even imagined he would to the new feeding routine and formula. After hearing that he was responding so well to everything that they were trying to implement, they decided, okay, you know what? We aren't going to send him to Children's just yet for testing. We're going to see where he's at in 5 days at his weight check. And much to our surprise, our pleasant surprise, at that next weight check appointment, 5 days after that previous appointment, he had not only gained 1 pound and 1 ounce, but he broke into the 8-pound mark, which was a huge milestone for him. It was at this appointment that his doctor wanted to explain to us just how serious things were and how scared she was the week prior. And so she basically said, if he had not done as well as he did with that bottle last week, she was going to have him admitted to Children's Hospital for 48 hours to be observed, because she was convinced that there is no way there is nothing wrong with him. She thought he had a very serious underlying health issue. And at that previous appointment, had she said, you guys need to go straight to Children's Hospital, Grayson needs to be admitted to be observed and tested for 48 hours, I don't know what I would have done. I think that I would have lost it. I can't even imagine having to take my baby to the hospital to be admitted for 48 hours. For a 2-month-old to gain no weight at their 2-month checkup is concerning. But for a 2-month-old to have lost weight from 2 weeks prior, that is a huge red flag and something that doctors do not take lightly. Something as minor as struggling with different bottles almost led to my baby being admitted into the hospital. And to be completely real with you guys, as his mom, this situation made me feel like a total failure because I felt like I could have done so many things differently. I should have done so much more than I did, and my baby almost got admitted to the hospital because of this. It was especially hard after I saw him gulp down that bottle as fast as he did in the doctor's office. The poor baby was starving, and the fact that he gulped that bottle down so quickly just proves that. While I was relieved to learn that everything that he had been struggling with was as minor as bottle issues and a little bit of GERD, I was also crushed because that alone is what caused him to lose weight. I thought it was a tongue tie. I thought it was like acid reflux. I did not know that it was really his bottles. Learning that information was a huge wake-up call for both Kevin and I. It was a very scary situation, and I am so thankful that we know now what to look out for the next time he has struggles with a bottle. You know, as your baby's mom, you want to do everything for them. You want them to be happy, healthy, fed as much as they need to be. We were not doing that, and so that's what makes me feel especially guilty about this. The good news of this whole situation, though, is we did find a solution and things are turning around so much more than they were. So what I learned in this whole experience is that if a baby is sucking really hard on their bottle and fussy and biting the nipple and maybe burping or getting hiccups more often, then they may not be getting enough out of the bottle nipple. And on the other hand, if a baby is having milk pour down their chin, out the sides of their mouth, if they are coughing and gagging while they're eating, if they are spitting up a lot more, these are signs that their bottle is giving them too much at a time. I really thought since the bottle was empty when feedings were done, he was still getting what he needed. But that was so far from the truth. What he was getting was being spit up, and what he wasn't getting was pouring out the sides of his mouth, and so he was not getting what he needed at all. Now that we have switched Grayson to a new formula, new bottle nipples, and a new feeding routine, he is thriving. We just started putting him in 0 to 3 month sleepers, and as much as it breaks my heart to put away the newborn sleepers, it also makes me feel so relieved to know he's growing and he's gaining weight the way he should be now. He also needs to move up to a size 1 in diapers very soon, and we are very excited about that milestone. His cheeks and thighs are starting to get chunky, and people are noticing. They're like, he's starting to get a little bit chunky, and that is so awesome. We could not be more thrilled about that. This is a baby who hated bath time because he was so small and he had such a low birth weight that his body temperature would always drop so much in the bath, and he was not able to support himself because he didn't have enough weight to hold himself steady. And now he loves bath time. He giggles, he smiles, he just thinks it's so much fun, and I don't have to hold him and support him because he has enough weight to hold himself up. Bath time is really where I noticed the biggest difference in his demeanor and everything since we changed this feeding routine. Before we made this huge change, he was inconsolable and fussy most of the time. As his mom, I am so thankful that he is doing as well as he is. And I'm especially grateful to know that he's getting what he needs now. Going forward, now we know exactly what to look for if these nipples start to become not enough for him. The moral of the story is I never realized just how severely my baby could be affected by us using a bottle that did not suit him. I also wanted to share this video to hopefully prevent this from happening to someone else. Grayson is almost 2.5 months old. He is happy, healthy, a little bit chunky, and that is everything we can ask for and more. And like I said, I really hope that this video helps you if you're struggling with something similar, and I hope it helps you feel that you're not alone in your struggles as a mom. As moms, we are always trying to do what's best for our babies, and just know that you are perfectly right for your baby, and you are everything that your baby needs. I hope you found this video to be helpful or valuable to you, and if you did, please leave a like and a comment down below. And to see more videos like this related to motherhood, be sure to subscribe.